The restaurant was buzzing with clinking glasses and soft chatter when Henry Blackwell, a billionaire CEO, known for his ruthless boardroom battles, leaned back in his chair and smirked. He was dining with investors, flashing his trademark arrogance, when the waitress nervously approached with menus. "Who win this game and I'll give you $100 million. Henry boomed loudly, tossing a shiny chess piece onto the table as though it were a poker chip. His companions laughed, assuming it was another one of his careless jokes. The waitress blushed awkwardly, bowing her head, and hurried away. But what Henry didn't notice was the little girl watching from the corner, the waitress's daughter, Emma, just 12 years old. She had been doing her homework quietly in the staff break area while her mother worked double shifts to keep a roof over their heads. Emma's eyes lingered on the chess piece. Her late father had taught her chess before he passed away, and it was the one thing she still clung to, a piece of him that lived on in her. During his meal, Henry waved dismissively toward her mother. "I'll bring the girl here. She looks curious." Emma hesitated but stepped forward, her hands trembling as Henry pointed to the chessboard in front of him. "Little one, you beat me, and I'll give you $100 million. He laughed, the same way a lion laughs at a rabbit for thinking it could fight. The room erupted in laughter, but Emma didn't flinch. She sat down, her mother whispering nervously, "Sweetheart, it's just a joke. Don't worry, Mom," Emma whispered back. "Hey, Dad always said I was good enough." The first moves passed quickly. Henry played aggressively, overconfident, while Emma stayed calm, remembering her father's lessons. Patience wins wars. Soon, the laughter faded. The investors leaned in. The smug grin on Henry's face disappeared, replaced by a furrowed brow. Within minutes, Emma had cornered his queen. Then with one swift move, she whispered softly a checkmate. The room fell silent. You could hear a pin drop. Henry sat frozen, staring at the board. For the first time in years, he had been beaten, not by a rival billionaire, not by a corporate shark, but by a little girl with hand-me-down shoes and hope in her eyes. Her mother reached for her, whispering apologies, ready to drag her away before things turned ugly. But then Henry did something no one expected. He stood. Slowly, his hand reached into his pocket, pulling out a pen. He scribbled his signature onto a check. $100 million, he said quietly, sliding it across the table. "I always keep my word," Emma's mother gasped, covering her mouth. "Sir, we can't accept." Henry raised a hand. His voice softened in a way few had ever heard before. "You can, because tonight, this little girl reminded me of something I forgot a long time ago. Humility, and the value of fighting with heart, not just money." The investors, usually hardened men, found themselves clapping. Some even had tears in their eyes. That night, Emma and her mother didn't just leave with a check. They left with dignity, hope, and a future rewritten. And as Henry watched them go, he realized the wealth he carried in his bank account had never felt as heavy or as empty as it did in that moment. Sometimes it takes the smallest voices to teach the loudest lessons. Because true wealth isn't measured in millions, but in moments of kindness, courage, and humanity. The night air was crisp as Emma held her mother's hand tightly, the weight of the folded check tucked carefully into her mom's apron pocket. Neither spoke at first. They were too overwhelmed. Finally, her mother stopped on the sidewalk, dropping to her knees to cup her daughter's face. Tears streamed down her cheeks. "Emma, do you realize what you've done?" she whispered, her voice breaking. Emma shrugged shyly. "I just remembered what Dad taught me. Don't be afraid of people who seem bigger than you. Just play the board, not the man." Back inside the restaurant, Henry Blackwell remained seated at the chess table, staring at the pieces still in place. For years, he had used money as a weapon, a shield, a way to win every battle before it began. But a little girl had walked in with nothing, and she had beaten him with quiet courage. An investor leaned over. "Henry, are you really going through with this?" Henry didn't look up. "Yes, because if I don't, then I lose something far greater than a game." The next morning, headlines exploded across the country. Billionaire CEO pays $100 M after chess match with waitress's daughter. Some called it a publicity stunt. Others thought it was fake. But when Emma's mother was interviewed, she didn't speak about money. Instead, she said, "My daughter showed me that hope is never too small to change a life." Weeks later, Henry invited Emma and her mother to his office. The glass towers of his company loomed above them, intimidating as ever. But when they entered, Henry wasn't the ruthless titan everyone expected. He stood at the door waiting, a chessboard already set on the table. "A rematch?" he asked with a faint smile. Emma giggled. "Only if you promise not to underestimate me this time." For the first time in years, Henry laughed, not the hollow laugh of power, but the kind that comes from somewhere honest. And in that moment, three people from completely different worlds found common ground, not in money, not in status, but in humanity. Because life's greatest victories aren't the ones that make headlines. They're the ones that remind us who we are and who we could be if we dared to believe in something bigger than ourselves. And for Henry Blackwell, the richest lesson he ever learned came from a little girl with nothing but courage in her heart.